Welcome back to the Walk Off Podcast. It has been a little bit of a hiatus, or a lot of bit of a hiatus, actually. It has been about 3 weeks since we last spoke. I am Austin Bradley, here with the principal, Jordan Ellsworth. You may notice that our camera's a little different. Not real sure why. We couldn't get it fixed um, to where we like it, but we are going to roll with it today. A little bit of something to address. I was made aware the other day that there is another podcast, one that has been going on longer, that talks about the Toronto Blue Jays, uh, also called the Walk Off Podcast. I would like to say right now that our intention was not to copy someone else at all. We were not aware. So, with that being said, effective July 1st, the Walk Off Podcast will take a new name and new branding. We haven't decided yet. An announcement on that will come as soon as we make a final decision, hopefully by the end of the week. Again, to them, we apologize. We are not trying to steal any ideas or anything like that. I was not thorough enough in my looking. So, with that being said, our name and branding will both be changed as soon as possible, effective July 1st. With that said, it's been a wild 4 weeks. The Cardinals acted like they had pulled their heads out of their rear ends, and clearly they have not, as they're now losing 9-2 to the San Francisco Giants as we speak right now. We're going to do something a little different, though, here on our podcast for the next couple weeks until we get a little closer to the All-Star break. We are going to talk about individual teams. And just because we're too far away from the All-Star break and the trade deadline to really have anything of true substance. So we're going to break down a few teams, teams that maybe are underperforming or overperforming, and I'm excited to do so. We are going to start tonight with those lowly Cardinals. They sit at 27-40 right now, and from all assigned points, they're going to fall to 27-41 here within the next hour or so. So, Jordan, when you talk about the Cardinals, it's something that you and I are both passionate about. Cardinal baseball, we both love Cardinal baseball. It's hard. This is a tough season to be a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and you kind of can chop it up. In April, oh, it was a bad April. It's more magnified because it's at the beginning of the season. But now here we are. I mean, they've lost over half their games almost. So you have to ask yourself, is this just what it is? Is this a bad team? And I think maybe you're looking at maybe this is a group of good players, but together they don't make a good team, and that's tough. That is tough.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just weird. Cardinal fans haven't went through anything like this, at least in my lifetime. I mean, there's been some seasons here and there that we didn't make the playoffs or what have it, but I have not seen them play this bad. I couldn't tell you when. Now they've had some stretches the last few years where they've played bad baseball, but
Right.
This has been from the beginning, and it's been every night. When they, we talked about this before, but when they pitch, they can't hit. When they hit, they can't pitch. At times, it seems like they have no fire, which, from a fan's perspective, it's easy for us to say that. But, and I'm not saying they don't. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they're trying everything they can to figure this thing out. But at some point, something's got to change. And whether it's personnel, whether it's manager, whether it's general manager, something's got to change. So I can't put my finger on it. It's like I tell you earlier before we came on. I think you got Goldschmidt, you got Arenado, which they're not having same type of seasons that we seen last year, which it's only June, but they're still putting up similar numbers. And then you have Gorman, and then outside those three guys, with the exception of here and there from some other guys, we just have no consistency on offense, and we can't string hits together. We can't string runs together, and until they start doing that, it may be the worst Cardinal season in 30, 40 years. I mean, that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that you have to assess, and it starts at the top. This is a situation that it starts at the top with guys like Michael Gersh, John Mozeliak, Bill DeWitt III, Bill DeWitt Jr. Those guys, there's got to be some accountability, and I understand, again, like we talked, like you just said, it's easy from a fan's perspective to sit here and be armchair officials or armchair coaches or managers or whatever. But I think what you do whenever you say you're not a manager in the major leagues or whatever, you automatically kind of shoot yourself in the foot with that argument, because guess what? There are only 30 managers. There are only 30 managers in the major leagues. Are you going to tell me that nobody else knows anything about baseball? So I think it's really tough when you look at a situation like this. You think about the names on the Cardinals: Lars Nootbaar, Dylan Carlson, Tyler O'Neill. Those are three guys that haven't. I mean, Carlson's produced okay since coming off the IL, but I mean, Tyler O'Neill has been a shell, just a shell of what he was in 2021, and that's a man that, I mean, we're going to talk about this a little bit later. I mean, there's a pretty solid chance he's played his last game in a Cardinal uniform. So you have to ask yourself as a fan, is it time to make some tough decisions, for the Cardinals? You look, they're 2-8 in their last 10, going to be 2-9 in their last 11 here in just a little bit, barring some wild comeback that you just never see. I mean, this is not, you could say like, oh, this is an aberration or whatever, but this is been consistent baseball for the Cardinals this year. It really has. I mean, at one point they lost 9 in a row. They lost 9 baseball games in a row. It's really tough to say, oh, this is just kind of, it's just an off month. But this has been it. Aside from a 4-series stretch with the Red Sox, the Cubs, the Dodgers, and I believe the Guardians, the Cardinals have been awful.
Yeah, I mean, there's no sugarcoating it. I was watching them last night and very frustrated. When you're struggling offensively and you grab a 3-2 lead in the 6th inning or whatever it was, and then you can't hold on to it, it's just very frustrating. Get 2 outs and then a walk and then a couple of hits that are just, we can't find those hits with the bases loaded that the Giants had last night. I don't know what the answer is, honestly. We don't. The rotation is probably the second. I think I saw a stat where they're the second best rotation, dating back about a month in the National League. So they've kind of figured that out. Of course, tonight is the exception. But then the bullpen has blown some games.
Yep.
So I don't know. You're right. There's going to have to be some hard decisions made. I think where it was looking like we were starting to make the right decision on some of these outfielders, and now they're, we're back to square one with some of those guys. I think it's going to be time to try to explore some trades to get some thump in this lineup. And it may be guys that are not necessarily high paid guys, but it may be some young talent on some other teams that we might have to ante up for at the trade deadline to try to improve this lineup. Maybe not for this year. We may still miss out on the playoffs, but you got to start somewhere. We can't keep throwing these guys out there. It's just, you got Tommy Edman playing center field right now, and he's done a fine job out there. I'm not saying that he couldn't be an everyday center fielder, but the guy won a Gold Glove last year on the infield. So, but that just goes to show you how bad the outfield situation is. And I think, and then Contreras is hitting around almost 200 now. So it's just, those are the issues. Question is, how do we fix it?
So I think one thing you're going to look back at, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on. I think as far as an immediate solution, the Harrison Bader for Jordan Montgomery trade was smart. I think as a grand scheme of things, I don't know how good of an idea it was. I like as if we look now, and as bad as the Cardinals are hurting for outfielders. First of all, Jordan Walker is not an outfielder. I like Jordan Walker. I think Jordan Walker is the best prospect in baseball, and I think he is going to have a phenomenal career, but not as an outfielder. The National League has a designated hitter. Quit throwing Alec Burleson. And I'm sorry. Alec seems like a great kid. Quit throwing Alec Burleson out there. He's not ready. He's not close.
Yeah.
He's overmatched. Quit throwing him out there. I don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't either. And the injuries that we've had don't help that, because Carlson out at once. O'Neill's been out the whole season. So it's kind of like, okay, where do you go? Now Newt Barr's out, which I'm not really down on Newt Barr. I think he's been dealing with some injuries. I think that he's going to be solid going forward. He's shown that. But we got to move on from some of these guys, in my opinion.
Right.
We just do. I mean,
right.
I'm just tired of sugarcoating it. Like I said, Alec Burleson's not the answer. O'Neill can't stay healthy. Carlson, it's like the third or fourth season he's been in the big leagues. I don't know what else we're going to get out of him. Now he's still young, and he hadn't hit his prime yet. But if you got a chance to get, I don't even know who would be available, but let's say you were able to get an Alex Verdugo from Boston, which you're probably not going to be able to, but just that type of talent. Or if the Angels fall out and you're able to get a Hunter Renfroe or somebody like that, you might have to put a Carlson in there. And he may go on to do good things. But, I mean, you got to start somewhere. And the guys that we're throwing out there are not the answer.
No, I agree. And I think another thing that has to be discussed, first of all, I like Carlson. I think right now, without O'Neill, without Newt Barr, I think trading him would be a disaster. I think if you get those guys back and they start to produce, then obviously that's definitely something. I think I'm putting O'Neill on the trading block. And I know, and people are going to say you trade him and he's going to go and he's going to hit 35 home runs. And you know what? He might. But like you said, you've got to part ways with some of these guys. There's such a logjam in the outfield. And I have it written down here on my notes for tonight. They need to play or they need to trade Juan Yepez. Because it also, in some regard too, and something that I don't feel like, because we as fans, we want the Cardinals to succeed. And in turn, in order for the Cardinals to succeed, other teams are going to have to not succeed. And you don't want to ever lose. But I also think it's a disservice to guys that are grinding away in the minor leagues that are good enough to play in the major leagues. Juan Yepez being case in point. I mean, he has been shuffled around, and he's come up and produced in the games he's played in. So he's a guy I'm play him or trade him. Just not even so much from a Cardinal aspect, but from a Juan Yepez aspect. I said it in the second or third episode that we did. If there's a Juan Yepez bandwagon, I'm driving the sucker. I think he is going to be a great player.
Yeah, and they really haven't given him a chance. They're going to tell you, well, he's probably better as a first baseman. He can't play there. Corner outfielder, you do have a DH spot. And speaking of that, I have liked Gorman's defense, so you could fit him in to DH. But I was, you bring up a good point. I was thinking the other day, it might be time, because you can't really trade right now. There's not any trades going on. There may be a few starting here and there as we get towards the end of June, but nothing significant. So why not play some of the young guys? Send some of these guys out. Let's bring in a Mason Wynn. Let's bring in Juan Yepez. They brought up Luke and Baker, which I know he's tearing up AAA, but unfortunately he hadn't done anything yet.
He's played in 4 games, though.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So, like, you can't really say, well, how good is he? We've only seen him in 4 games. But that goes back to my point. Like, maybe it's time to play some of these young guys with Goldschmidt and Gorman and Arenado and just let them play. Stick Mason Wynn at short. I mean, you can't get any worse. I mean, 27-41, right. Why not stick him at short and see what he can do? Maybe he can lead off and be the catalyst to get runs scored, play Juan Yepez DH, play Gorman at second base for more than once every 2 weeks, I don't know, do something,
Yeah. The Cincinnati Reds were 13 games under 500. They were at the bottom of the National League Central. If you can believe it or not, at one point the Cardinals were not the last place team in the National League Central. They bring up Elly De La Cruz, and since bringing up Elly De La Cruz, they are now 3 games under 500. They're like 3.5 games back of the division. They've kind of turned things around, and again, it's a long season. Things can change, but it seems like bringing up Elly De La Cruz, just that hype around him has kind of motivated that ball club. And I think that when you do that, sometimes it motivates your ball club. I think, there was so much hype around Jordan Walker. There's the same amount of hype around Mason Wynn. Bring him up. An outfielder that I like, a guy that you could run out there as a DH, a corner outfielder, even a center fielder. Moises Gomez led the minor leagues in home runs last year, and is tearing them up this year. So there needs to be some shuffling, I think, of some talent. Paul DeYoung, he's so weird, man, because I get so ready to be like, DFA him, get him out of here, and then he hits a home run. So It's like, well, maybe. He's got 9 homers this year. So
yeah, I mean, you get all or nothing with him. He's not going to hit for average. He's going to strike out a lot, and he's just super, super streaky. I don't know what you do with him. You can't get rid of his contract, obviously. You're not going to be able to trade him. But, I mean, they got to quit playing him every day. Defensively, I used to think he was okay, but, I mean, you look at some of these plays like, and this might not have been his fault, but last night he's playing too far up the middle on the Brandon Crawford base hit when the Giants took the lead. Like if Mason Wynn's playing, he may still be playing up the middle, but he may have a chance to keep that ball in the infield or something.
Yeah, he's quicker.
Yeah. So I think if you're not going to fire the manager, if John Mozeliak's not going to step down, then at least give us a look at the future, even if it means we still only play 500 baseball, which is after tonight. If they lose, that's basically what we've done since starting 10 and 24 is we've played 500 baseball, 17 and 17, I think it is. So, I mean, at least give us the future. If they play 500 the rest of the year and we finish 14 games under 500, then at least we know what the future looks like, I still don't think that they're going to finish dead last in the National League. I'm starting to get nervous about a playoff spot. That's for sure. I do think their luck is going to change at some point. When that is, I don't know. But we're getting to the point where the playoffs might be just an afterthought. So
right, and because I mean we said it from the opening episode, which was about a week or so into the season. Second place in the National League Central does not get you a well.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not going to. I don't think. Now, some of those teams that were playing well, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we had our last podcast, that like the Mets that went in the tank. Um, some of those other teams are playing bad again, but I mean, San Francisco's playing better. The Diamondbacks are in first place, or they were in first place over the weekend. The
Diamondbacks
Dodgers,
have the best record in the National League.
yeah, so those are three teams right there that can make it out of the West. And then you look at the East, you got the Marlins playing well, Braves obviously. The Mets and Phillies could, take off like a rocket ship at any point. I mean, they have the pieces, kind of like
Yep.
the Cardinals could. And people are going to watch this and they're going to think we're crazy, but you can't look at the Cardinals roster and not think that it's just going to click at some point, you know.
Yeah.
But it may not click until they make some of those hard decisions, like bringing up the young kids or making a trade or releasing somebody or changing managers. I don't know.
I completely agree. I think at some point their luck will change. You just hope that it's not too late. Not too late into the season, for sure. So when you look, I pulled up the team leaders real quick for this team. Goldschmidt leads in hits with 73. RBI, Nolan Gorman leads with 46, and he's in second or third place in the National League. Nolan Gorman is just having a breakout season. He also leads the team with 15 home runs. Paul Goldschmidt leads the team with 287 average. That's a problem.
Yeah.
If 287 is your best average on a team, that is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you go into the pitching, the ERA, here's another problem. The lowest ERA on this team is 3.88. That's Jordan Montgomery, and Jack Flaherty leads with 76 strikeouts. He had 2 tonight, and it was not a great effort. I mean, you can break that down all you want, but 287 average as your highest batting average is not going to get the job done.
Yeah. I think we've reached a point where the problem's offensively, the defense. Pitching has kind of stabilized. Some of the ERAs they're still high, but they're gonna be because they were the starting rotation was so horrible in April that it's gonna take until late August or early September to see these guys normal ERAs, their average ERAs from season to season. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I think it's the offense is the problem now, obviously, and in the defense, you've seen Arenado make more errors than usual. You've seen other people kick the ball around or make bad throws. I think it was Sunday we had a chance to throw Ellie De La Cruz out at the plate to keep it tied up, and DeYoung makes a throw to the first base side of the catcher, and Contreras can't hang on to it. That's not an error per se, but it's just things like that. I mean, there's nothing going the Cardinals' way at all. I've never seen anything like it. I guess maybe it's a law of averages thing. They played so well since the year 2000 that maybe they're just due for a clunker of a season. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. It's tough. I mean, we sit here and talk about it, but it's tough to put into words because, again, I mean, in my lifetime, I've not seen a season this bad. I know you had said that you have not seen a season this bad either. We've talked a little bit about Ellie De La Cruz of the Cincinnati Reds. Of course, he has come up and been pretty dominant, showing all tools of the game. And I guess you could say that was a home run for the Cincinnati Reds to call him up. If you want to hit a home run, feel free to subscribe to this channel and come back and check us out. We are here every week, or at least almost every week, apparently. Bringing you guys episodes, just two guys that love the game of baseball and love to sit down and talk about it. We would appreciate a subscription from you. as we move on, in that was a little self promo there. As we move on, we talked about the Cardinals sitting at 27-40. They're only 8.5 games back in the National League Central and 7.5 back of the National League wild card. So they're not they're not that far. They're still not that far. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes to show you the mediocrity in the National League right now. I think overall you got three really good teams. Dodgers, Braves, Diamondbacks. And then you got some other teams who are starting to play well. They're playing at that caliber. But if you look at if you look at the American League's a different animal. When you look at the Rangers, the whole National League East, American League East, American League Central's not that good. But I would take the AL top 5 teams all day long over the NL top 5 teams so far this year. There's a big discrepancy. And that plays in the favor of the Cardinals. If you think, well, eventually they're going to start playing well, which they will. There's too much talent not to. Then they're in good shape there because, even last year, if a team, we'd have to look at the standings, but if you were sitting at 27-41 this time last year, you were probably going to be, 12, 13 games out of a division, so.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think there is a ton of mediocrity. I don't think it's a very good. I don't think it's a very good league here myself at all. Hopefully it gets better. And we will see about that as we prepare to wrap this thing up. Of course, you're talking about one team. I mean, we can beat the dead horse all we want to, but to sit here and just repeat ourselves for an hour, and things like that is unnecessary. Again, if the Cardinals want to, make the playoffs, there's going to have to be some kind of change. Whether it's Ollie Marmol losing his job, John Mozeliak stepping down, some trades, some DFAs, whatever. Things are definitely going to have to change. Again, the Cardinals sit with a record of 27-40, 8.5 games back in the National League Central and 7.5 back of the National League wild card. We will see next week how they have caught up, as well as breaking down what the season has looked like for the Pittsburgh Pirates, a team that was not expected to perform. They have slumped a little bit, but they are still in control of the National League Central at this time. And we will talk about the surging Cincinnati Reds. Ellie De La Cruz has come up and is a sensation, and it will be fun to talk about him and all of his glory, and the way that he has played to start his early career. And I mean, we can sit here and continue to talk, but I think we've covered about everything.
Yeah, I do got one question for you.
Okay.
Just to kind of wrap this up, if you had to make one choice on how to fix the Cardinals, what would it be?
Okay. I'm gonna leave the rotation how it is for now.
Yeah.
But if I had to move today, I'm gonna designate Paul DeYoung for assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Move Tommy Edman back to shortstop.
Yeah.
Slide Dylan Carlson to center field. And I'm going to call up Moises Gomez.
Okay. Yeah, I think I can go with that. I mean, any combination of some of the young guys are just tearing it up at AAA right now. So yeah, I agree with that. I think that could improve things moving forward. And of course, I don't know. I'd like for them to play better so that we can make some moves that could put us back in contention at the trade deadline, rather than, well, let's sell a few pieces and see if we can't play a little bit better. But if we don't play better, at least we've made moves that'll help us next year. I'd rather see us make moves that are going to help us now because we're playing better and we're going to win. So I like that. Yeah.
I think I know I saw some rumors the other day of trading Paul Goldschmidt. I think that's just insane.
No, I mean, why would you? It's not. I mean, unless you're just gonna. I know people are already hitting the panic button, but that's not the type of panic button. I mean, you trade him or Arenado, and you're going to set yourself back several years.
Right.
This bad, not even half of a season yet, was going to turn into 3 or 4 bad seasons. So anybody that's saying they should trade off some of the big pieces is insane.
No, I completely agree. But again, thank you for coming back on. Again, I do want to touch again as to what we talked about at the beginning of the show. The Walk-Off podcast obviously belongs to someone else as far as name and rights to that. We don't want to interfere to that. So effective July 1st, there will be new name, and new branding. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. And again, I want to just apologize that I was not more thorough as far as that goes. And we wish them all, we don't know them. I'm not saying we know them, or I'm not saying that anything's even been said, because it hasn't. But I do want to wish them the most success. And effective July 1st, it will look a little bit different. But we're excited for that. And there will be a a new era, so to speak, early on in the show. We will be back next week again to talk about the Cincinnati Reds and the Pittsburgh Pirates and how we think that the National League Central will shake out the remainder of the year as part of our team series. Guys, I hope you guys have a great, safe night. Jordan, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's a pleasure doing it with you, and we will see you guys next week.
Yep, absolutely.